But here we go, to start off the day, let's get that score up there too. It's a best of 5 TVP. In the top right on Dusk Towers, it is Elevate's MaSa. And in the bottom left, that's an awful quick probe scout, man. It's the red Protoss NaNiwa. Obviously not like that quick, his first pylon still comes down here, but damn, he really wants to get a scout on his Terran opponent. Of course, like I said, I'll be looking to you guys to tell me how the sound is. I actually don't hear any music whatsoever, so I'll probably be changing that. And hopefully not accidentally leave the game, as I've done that before. Okay, I want to make sure that I don't, like, because there's like the loud music, you know, and then there's the quiet music, and I don't want to burst your eardrums with the loud music whenever that comes, so I'll check back again in 3 minutes, as that is the delay today. So the early probe scout might be because, well, they might play each other. For those of you that don't know, NaNiwa's in the US right now, so that actually makes it really easy for servers. The default is going to be NA Central for every single match today. We have 2 North Americans, 1 European, and 1 Korean. The European arguably is going to get the worst out of the deal. I've heard that Europe to NA is usually the worst. They're kind of alone in their little server. Where Korea to NA is a little bit better, but that is, of course, the safest way to go. So, Bly has been informed. I believe Gumi has been informed. Of course, these guys don't have to worry about it, as that is going to be the default, as their preferred server. The probe scout, I wanted to say, it was probably, not just because maybe they play each other and NaNiwa knows the playstyle of MaSa, but also that we have been seeing a couple of 1-base builds, and the sooner you get a scout on that, the sooner you're also able to see what type of 1-1-1 it is, and then be able to react to it appropriately. Stargate usually covers all of your bases, but you'd want to be absolutely sure. It's actually a gasless expand. MaSa, because he went for a gasless expand, could actually... You can afford to make the supply depot at all times, really, just about a question of pushing off your command center, but you could extra afford it without getting a gas, so he just went ahead and planted it down, so that NaNiwa had no idea. So he sees a barracks, so he knows it's on a CC first, but he also sees a Marines, Marines popping out, and that just tells him, well, it's not a Reaper expand, I don't have to worry about something being scouted, which could be bad for MaSa, honestly, but it also says that he's going to be a little more economical without going, of course, to the full CC first. We do have just a barracks follow-up. MaSa, I mean, he actually is the only guy I've really seen this do more than once, and even then, I'm not even sure how many other Terrans I've seen go for Reaperless. The Reaper can sometimes really feel useless in this matchup because, an Adept pops out, a simple overcharge when you overstep your boundaries, and it's gone. It really doesn't feel like it gets much scouting. And for the most part, Protosses are going for the simple Robo and Twilight Council. But it's still like, when people see you don't get a Reaper, they Baneling bust you, they Roach Baneling bust you, they Proxy Stargate you, So it's like a check almost for your opponents. Even if there really isn't anything to scouts, it still like maybe changes their mind too. Lots of Marines. He also has been doing this thing too, so the lot of Marines coming out, he's gonna have a bigger bioforce because of the way that he opened, including the fact that he also decided to go for extra barracks. He's actually been using the Marines to push out, as NaNiwa sees here, and is going to be able to try and answer appropriately. This actually, in the past, has destroyed a Dark Shrine, which NaNiwa's been going for a lot against Terran, just because the Protoss wasn't expecting it, Like, who expects these amount of Marines at this time? But MaSa's been doing this frequently. If he does it frequently on ladder, I think that NaNiwa definitely would know about it and would have a good answer for it. Basically, the good answer for it is a good pylon position like NaNiwa has, which he probably sets up usually anyways in Terran TVP, but also, actually having a couple of units. Not just... Basically, if you're not surprised by this, it shouldn't do that much damage. And MaSa, having being scouted by the Adept, is only... is not really going to commit to it, and I like that choice. Now he's going to have a much bigger ground army to push whenever those medevacs come out. He does scan. Like I said before, NaNiwa's been going for a lot of Dark Shrine. Still hear no in-game music. Okay. I'm going to bump it up to 42 and see how that works. That should definitely be audible on stream. If not, then there might be another issue with it coming through OBS, which I'll check into afterwards. So, I know it really adds a lot to have the music and the in-game sounds, but hopefully you can bear with me for the first game here. But alright, I was talking about the Dark Shrine and NaNiwa. NaNiwa has been doing some really cool stuff that includes Dark Shrine and Blink against Zerg, specifically in my mind. When I think about it, I think about his games versus Zerg in the last group, because they were so cool. He really made Protoss look like they could work like Heart of the Swarm, actually, when most of the people have tried to adapt to Legacy of the Void. in one way or another, mostly with Charge Out Archon, or Immortal. But he made Blink work, and he made Dark Shrine as a macro build work, so I think that MaSa would be constantly scouting for that in this series. It is just Resonating Glaives, though, after Blink, so an Dark Shrine. A War Prism's on the way out. They both went for a third base. The third CC is on location, or in base for MaSa, rather. He scans the Observer and then immediately picks up. If NaNiwa had eyes on that Observer, he should have seen the medevacs were kind of waiting, and then it's almost like scanning your opponent. You know that something's coming, that they scan you, and you go there to check. So if they scan your Observer and they have medevacs, you might want to anticipate a drop. So I noted this earlier with the camera, but yeah, actually, Marine just staying there. That was actually a pretty useful scout until NaNiwa killed it. Even still, it was a useful scout, because now he knows that units are over there ready to potentially defend against this. He doesn't know they have Blink, and he only saw 2 Stalkers, so he tries to commit to the attack, but might regret it. Oh, Jesus, that was very close. Good thing he had boost there, too. The Warp Prism might do a lot more damage than MaSa's drop. The cast seems so much more professional. No, don't kid yourself. I'm going to degrade as the cast goes on. That's the real trick about solo casting. I heard a Widowmine somewhere. Oh, there we are. 2 Widowmines at the front. Unfortunately, he would want one, like, maybe here to see that Warp Prism. Warp Prism is so common, though. I mean, you already have some defense, obviously, in the natural. Dusk Towers, Orbital Shipyard, both maps, you're going to be automatically putting down at least 1 missile turret. Won't kill the Warp Prism, but will stop it from just, you know, instantly going in that warp mode, because it'll be on top of a missile turret. So you just kind of dodge it. The Marines do stem back, or at least some of them do. And oh, they actually get the Warp Prism. That was just the right amount. But we also have an attack in the front. A couple of bio units do see this. There's no Observer for these Widowmines, though, and they're going to get a hit. No. Oh, NaNiwa was anticipating that. That was really nice. Adepts do shade over into the main base, but they've only gotten 4, maybe 5 SCV kills? 5 SCV kills. So not a big deal. Nice defense from MaSa. I mean, we can see in this game, it's Dusk Towers, so to see both players on 3 bases is not too surprising, and there really hasn't been too much in the way of action, but I really feel like this is a nicely set up TVP. You got server not being an issue for these guys, which makes it even better. You don't have anyone thinking they can, you know, maybe blame lag a little bit, or, you know, you don't actually have lag affecting, of course, because it actually does, and it just should be a really good TVP between guys that are pretty equal skill. MaSa can be a little hit or miss, and NaNiwa, well, he plays Protoss, so you can say that Protoss is a little hit or miss at certain stages of all of their matchups right now, but I think that NaNiwa will take this. Someone asked me predictions earlier. I think NaNiwa will take this series, and then I think he'll get out second, and Gumi will get out first, but Bly is the real, like, contender in my mind. Like, I don't really want to put MaSa as 4th, but I can't help it. I mean, he's up against a lot of good players, you know? I'm hearing some contention here, so sound is fine, / I can barely hear the sound. So, just confirm, just all agree on something. That'd be nice. I just asked Twitch chat to agree on something. That's not gonna happen. I made a mistake. Okay, we have a Widowmine drop, looks like. Just using those Widowmines that I guess are at the front. No, those are still there. Just building more Widowmines. Not really doing a lot of damage, though. Oh, okay. These are pretty cheap at this stage of the game, and the medevac's gonna get out, too, which is really surprising. So that... it's not worth 3 probes, but it's also not worth not doing, you know? It's not... it is worth doing, is the better, much better way to put it. Because it also gets you a little bit of scouting, sees what the composition looks like. Maybe you get eyes on, like, a Templar Archives or something like that. It's actually not Templar Archives, though, so MaSa would have loved to get eyes on the Colossus that are coming out. This could just be a kind of, not hard counter, but, not even necessarily a blind counter, but I think blind counter is the closest word I'm thinking of to the Liberators, where you, I don't know, we did see the second starport. Even if you hadn't seen the second starport, though, it's like an assumption nowadays that Terran, after a certain point, are going to be going for Liberators. Either they're the type to drop a lot and then go into Liberators, or they're the type to go very quickly for Liberators and very defensively do so, too. This is kind of the middle of the road for MaSa, you know, a couple of drops here and there, and some good macro, but... the Colossus is very good against it. It's really funny to say that it's a counter to the Liberators because it doesn't hit the Liberators, but it's what every Protoss is getting in response to it, and it does work. The fight might be going down here now. Remember, this was, I think, the first time MaSa's seen the amount of Colossus. But he has Liberators all sieged up, and now NaNiwa has a tough choice. It's not about, you know, the fact that he has to deal with these necessarily, it's that he's not mining. So eventually he will have to deal with it, or he just literally will not have any reinforcements. But MaSa takes the fight, thinking he has a good fight, but that's not necessarily true, especially out of the range of his liberation zones. He does have that upgrade, so they are protecting him from pretty far back. The Blink Stalkers will not be able to attack in there. But the probe count, while it's not going down anymore, it's that not mining. Okay, well this one's not helping, but it's not mining that is really screwing up NaNiwa here. Once again, MaSa looking for a fight. Those Colossus are ripping the Marines apart, though. They do have that damage decrease from Heart of the Swarm, so they're a little more like, you know, you can take them on a little bit more as the bio player, but it's still not ideal. They're consistent splash, unlike the other options Protoss has in Disruptors and Storms. Yeah, it's not a solo caster if he can just mute it himself, and I anticipated that, so I'm just constantly talking. So we just gonna have a couple of more scuffles, I think. Like, I am actually more afraid for MaSa when he does this, but NaNiwa is taking it really seriously, you know? Like, we have seen the power of 4 Colossus usually, so I think NaNiwa actually might be holding off because he only had 2 for so long. But 4 Colossus actually taking on that bio army, but gets a little caught off guard and gets kind of almost blindsided by those Liberators, has to pull back again. He's got a Warp Prism waiting to go, but, you know, he looked away once and he lost a couple of units, doesn't want to do so again. He did clear up most of the Liberators. This one just hasn't been doing anything? Okay, now it is. There's the Phoenix. Upgrades, by the way, 2-2 versus 2-2. We do have that ship open upgrades, too, for the Liberators. Oh, I don't know about that. That was a little questionable, but he does have his Colossus still alive and still a very big army. Okay, I'll bump that sound up a little bit later as we are in the heat of the action. Tempests are now on the way. I did forget to mention the Fleet Beacon that you saw in the production tab. So that is the next step in this matchup. That's what I'm looking for. You can just stick all the Colossus and ground. We've seen, shoot, I actually can't remember the guy's name right now. Niden, there we go. I've seen Niden actually do that, but Tempests are the obvious answer to something that is giving you trouble with distance and range. Well, then Tempests are going to outmatch that eventually, but already losing a 4th base, MaSa with a slow, steady siege up, NaNiwa constantly having to pull back, has been actually very impressive. NaNiwa, you know, he has no choice but to take this seriously. Like, maybe earlier on, when there aren't so many Liberators, he could have taken a good fight. He was, you know, killing those Marines pretty quickly, but that time is gone. Like, the Liberators are now on a ramp. The Tempests were just maybe a little bit too late, and even if he does push this army back, it's going to be hard to take back economy. He's lost a very important 4th base. MaSa's on a 4th, already going to a 5th, has extra orbitals, of course, to just swoop over, and the Warp Prism still hasn't done anything, too. That is probably the worst part. Is NaNiwa's one hope would have been to draw the army back somehow. I just love that it's there too. Like, MaSa obviously sees it, but everyone's focus is on this main fight. It finally goes down. NaNiwa is finally forced to take it, but that is a good concave with a lot of Liberators that just aren't going down fast enough, and a very high Marauder count as well. So before with the Colossus, we're taking down Marines very, very quickly. They're taking down Marauders a lot slower. And that does have to do with, well, just in general, Marauders, but also with that reduced damage they received. So, like, you can note, like, with the stim, they're so low, they're so almost close to death, but the Colossus just had that little bit less damage. But that last stim did kill most of MaSa's units, as well as the rest of the splash, so NaNiwa is able to just barely push that back, but lost most of his very important units, of course, talking about the Colossus. Only, I think, like a single Tempest went down, but he doesn't have that many to begin with. It's more just in general his army went down. But as he pushed that back, he found room to go ahead and warp in those Adepts. Room that, I don't know, obviously he has gateways to do so, but it's that money I'm looking at right now. He does need that 4th base, and he doesn't really have an army that will threaten a counterattack. MaSa has a good enough army already to take it on, and, well, NaNiwa, I think he noticed with his Adepts how well he was mining, and just tapped out. Well, here we are in game number 2. This man up here in the top right in Oval Shipyard, he's down 0-1. It's NaNiwa. In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, he's Elevate MaSa. Thank you, Artanis. The stream isn't placed under Team Liquid. You know, I don't know if I have the power to actually do that. Usually some kind soul does it, the magical fairy. I don't know who, to be honest. I think it changes every once in a while. Usually catches it if we don't. Yeah, I don't have the login to do that. It failed. I guess I'll ask around, see if anyone else can. No. Can attach 3. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So as I said before, there's going to be some awkward moments where I'm doing other things, as I am doing everything today, and I might forget to cast, or even look at stuff. Forgot to tweet too, actually. You know what's nice though, is I can copy-paste these @ signs, and be like, let's @ting for the win open. Group C is live with copy-paste, NaNiwa vs MaSa. And you're looking at the beautiful production of a command center right now. I know, it's beautiful. Look at it go. Okay, there we go. Did my job. So, right, we had a command center on the way, but we have a third command center on the way, which is a lot more important. That's pretty greedy. MaSa's last build wasn't the greediest, shall we say, but it was still definitely set up to play to the map with that third coming down after his extra 2 barracks. NaNiwa got his own Nexus down, of course. Orbital Shipyard does play out a lot like Dusk Towers, but usually not as long as games. And he's adding on a robotics facility right now, as well as, okay, there's Twilight Council. Obviously, NaNiwa not too happy with the game ended. I'm just actually, I shouldn't say obviously, I'm assuming he's not too happy. Protosses have been complaining every now and then about Liberators. I don't think as much as they were like a month ago, but they are still very powerful tools for Terran, and it doesn't feel good to just basically be pushed back until you can't do anything anymore, and then have to, like, you know, try your best, and, well, the best didn't cut it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he loses this game, especially if NaNiwa tries to start doing things before Liberators could possibly make their way out. So maybe not even all-ins, but of course an all-in could happen. But also just getting the Warp Prism earlier, for instance, and a Dark Shrine, for instance. Hey, look at that. And trying to hamper MaSa on his way to 3 bases and Liberators. Engineer bay come down? Okay. Just the single engineering bay. If you're gonna be really greedy, it is 3 CC and 2 engineering bays, but just take away from your gas. So he sees the Warp Prism pop out, sees it again with the Marine to confirm. That's really nice. This early of a Warp Prism, unfortunately for MaSa, is just not suspicious, you know? Like, okay, he gets a Warp Prism earlier than the last game, but there are a ton of builds from Protoss that revolve around that. It doesn't necessarily say that it's going to be a Dark Shrine. Now, the fact that it's NaNiwa might say that. As I said before, in the last game, NaNiwa's been doing this commonly. MaSa, I don't know what died. I think the Marine died. MaSa has probably studied a little bit, so they probably played each other, and I wouldn't be surprised to see at least one missile turret go down on the mineral line. This one is just the one he built last time on Dusk Towers, which tries to catch the Warp Prism, but there aren't any in the main here, so he is not suspecting Dark Templars at all. Now, he's pretty close to a scan on the natural, not really in the main. But as long as he's a mule, it will be just about 10 seconds, and he should be able to clean everything up, so definitely not the worst time it ever happened to a Terran. Oh, and I forgot about his 3rd TC. His 3rd TC actually has one, ready to go, so easy peasy. A bit of a waste of a scan. That was a nice pickup from NaNiwa. As I said when I was describing his play earlier, NaNiwa has not just been using these as cheese and free wins. He's been using them very effectively in a macro sense, you know, and this one, this is included. Man, that's a big pickup range on that Warp Prism. Has to be very careful though. Stim is finishing up, and he doesn't want to think, oh, I've got plenty of time, and then get stimmed upon, as his entire strategy revolves around the DTs and the Warp Prism, especially staying alive. The DTs actually might be able to die, but as long as the Warp Prism is alive, that's what's really important. Because his 3rd base has to be protected not by units, as he doesn't have very many units, but by MaSa just not feeling comfortable ever pushing out. Now he's starting to get to that point where he will be. He's got missile turrets in very odd locations, I must say, but still looked at missile turrets covering his production mostly, and a little bit of his mineral line, and he's getting his 3rd CC, but he still of course has to wait for the medevacs, and if he drops first, NaNiwa could easily deal with that with just well-placed pylons, but if he attacks first, just straight up, he's going to want to make sure to keep scans so that he might actually be able to contest the main army. And that Warp Prism is still alive, and that's always going to be in the back of a player's mind, whether you're Terran, Zerg, or another Protoss. The Warp Prism is something you always have to deal with. Very nice. I thought he was actually going to go ahead and attempt to run in there after the scan went down, but he picks it up again, decides to go into the main base. Of course, this hasn't just been scans, it's been, you know, mules that are supposed to be put down. We see the first two go down, he thinks that he's safe. That's when the DT comes in. The missile turret does cover it, however. Warp Prism's still alive, again, very key. MaSa is going to drop first, it looks like, unless he unloads somewhere in the middle, trying to catch NaNiwa off guard. And if he drops first, that's where NaNiwa could have an easy time. He can also have a terrible time, you know? Like, he could have no pylon right here, for instance, and then have his mothership core wrecked, and then, well, these units could try, but they'd actually be traded out with fairly well from MaSa, but ideally that won't happen. Ideally, NaNiwa has things in position that will shoot down those medevacs. Controlling his Warp Prism right now, but there he goes back to his main. Now, MaSa does get mostly unloaded here, but that's too big of an army. That was not separated at all, you know? I think MaSa did anticipate it being separated, so about half of those stalkers here and half of them up there, which I don't blame him. I think a lot of Protosses would do that as Blink finishes up. But instead, he stims into the full might of NaNiwa's army after he had warped in, and that was a huge mistake, actually. That was just... I don't know, like, calling your opponent, I suppose, a little too much, and then them not doing what you expected. Still has a big army back at home, though. A lot of it was saved up because of those ETs. And, of course, he had a nice economy as well. I mean, NaNiwa getting this third Nexus down and ready thanks to that Warp Prism, that was really nice. But MaSa also had that third CC so early, so... They both could have done absolutely nothing to each other and probably been okay. But NaNiwa is going to try and do something. His blink control has been fantastic, and oh, MaSa's own barracks took him out a little bit here. That's a mistake. He lifts the CC. I don't know about that blinking from NaNiwa, though. They didn't even stim until just now. The SCVs were pulled. Not many have actually gone down, and yes, that did end up being questionable. I could see why NaNiwa would think that was a good idea, but I think I was a split-second underestimating bio with medevacs, plus... Maybe he didn't tap on that on a unit and see that it's 1-1, and that definitely helps. So NaNiwa, he got such a, you know, a good start by killing those two medevacs and probably really thought that would get him ahead in army supply, and then just overcommitted on that blink. But his Warp Prism is still alive, even with his Widow Mine. It's still alive, and it could still buy a lot of time, but NaNiwa knows that he made a mistake, and he's probably not feeling very good about this game now, either. More CVs going down, but still 59 is pretty damn good. We got Liberators on the way too, and NaNiwa, having sacrificed a lot of his army and having to replace said army, is now going to be even later to his own answer to those Liberators, which last game was Tempests. And if there was his plan again here, it'd be heavily delayed. It's actually getting Storm this time, which I'm pretty sure we didn't see in the last game. Because I don't remember seeing Archons either. And that's going to really help with the ground. I mean, I really feel like Protosses are kind of saying, like, I can't deal too well with the Liberators, even if I have, like, the best snipes with Blink, even if I have Tempest, it can still be difficult. But if I can take down their ground army fast enough, then the Liberators won't be as much of a problem. That's where the Colossus really seem to play a part. If you have 4 of them, they do take them down very quickly, and that's also where Storm can be very helpful. Storm will also hit medevacs and Liberators, and is all around a good spell, but it is one that is dependent upon actually getting a hit, you know? Colossus, they attack you, you're gonna get hit. Storm, kind of really good splits, they could actually just straight up miss, I've seen that sometimes, and it's a lot to bank your game on. We have a really big drop. Not quite a doom drop, though, going into the natural, while the main army heads into the main force here. Now, that is a very big army after having reduced his army quite considerably with that Blink Stalker attack, so I think MaSa believes this will be wide open, which it is. A DT is warped in, the Mothership Core comes back here, the DT adding tons of damage, and MaSa, okay, he will scan, of course he's microing on 2 different fronts. Well, he would like to be microing on 2 different fronts, but I don't think he was microing that front right there when he went back to it, just took a storm to the face, and his army absolutely gets destroyed. He does kill 20 probes. And he, you know, we already had a good fight with those Blink Stalkers, so MaSa I still think is doing much better, but NaNiwa is going to be pretty thankful that his 4th is actually alive. Because if that went down, but he cleaned up this with no problem, I think that's a lot worse. Looks like Ting Jesse is here, by the way. Of course, you guys in chat know, but if you are only listening right now and watching, you can head in the chat and ask him any questions that you have. And Ting is a a U.S. company, so you all who are listening in on the United States side, and well, unfortunately Canada time zone too, but you guys, you don't get this today. The United States citizens, I suppose. Well, I guess citizens could be anywhere, couldn't they? Residents? Might be interested. Check it out. Another drop. No, Liberators. Liberators going to the natural once again. This is what he did last game too. One at each base. And another main army is ready to go here with only a couple of Liberators. 2-2 is about to finish up against NaNiwa's 2-1. And this is actually not protected at all, so this could just be sniped. Oh no. There's out of position for a second and loses a very, very important nexus. Okay. There were Liberators over there, weren't there? Okay, they died somehow. Amazing observing. 2-2 did finish up, but obviously he already got what he wanted, really. I mean, having to wait for an entire other nexus, having to spend that 400 minerals. MaSa's looking pretty good in this game. He's got his 4th on the way. Excuse me. War Prism's still alive, which is nice. Because there's a second one to be made. And it's going to go back in there and try and maybe do some damage. I'll keep an eye on that. Adept's just checking out the army. Yeah, I can't imagine he would actually attack into that. NaNiwa's composition looking very just not set up to deal with Liberators, basically. He's getting Tempests, though, and that's going to help. And basically, if MaSa is content with just staying here, kind of containing him, then the Tempest will be able to push this back. I'm starting to forget my words. It's not a good sign. And that's something that NaNiwa does really need, is time to breathe. The 4th base is once again going to go down, and I don't think he can really help that. No, he cannot. Even if he stormed, it wouldn't be enough. You know, the Liberators, the Marauders will still be alive. War Prism did go down, it looks like, unless it's over here. No, that's an Observer in a very odd place. But the Adepts did do some nice SCV damage, 14 killed. The attack was on the fronts. Looks like the Blinkstalkers tried to take out a couple of Liberators, and Storms did go down rather well, but there just weren't enough Storms for the mass Marauders that MaSa has. I mean, he's not even doing that great of a job splitting and dodging those, but there's enough Medivacs. 4 isn't ideal, but they got some energy on them. And there's just enough Marauders, man. Like, this is tough stuff. This is usually where, in Heart of the Swarm, you'd start to add on Immortals to Colossus and have that duo splash plus, last hits from the Immortals, but really can't afford both. Does have a couple of Immortals, but 1 or 2, sometimes they hit the Marine instead too, aren't really helpful. And there's no Archons either, no charge lots too, which is an interesting decision. Sometimes we see Protosses who seem to swear by it, they always get charge, even if they did start off with Resonating Glaives. And some Protosses actually just stick on Adepts. It's an interesting decision that I don't have much to talk about as a not Protoss pro gamer, but I'd like to look into it more, but this game might just end here. Tempests are taking away those Liberators slowly. NaNiwa tries to get almost a hidden base, honestly. All the action's been on the left side, so they're not going to check over there. A really nice Storm. Oh, he's always so close to killing, like, 8 Marauders, man. Like, 8 Marauders is pretty expensive, but they're just not going down. The Medivacs, however, are out of energy finally. This is a problem that, of course, if you go into Liberators, you might not have enough Medivacs in general. We've seen people with 0 Medivacs just going way too hard on the Liberators, and of course you're going to start running out of energy on the Medivacs. And that's what's happened here. So MaSa does have to be careful about trying to end this game too soon. Still no scouting on the right base. NaNiwa, though, does not have a lot of probes to transfer over there. He lost 14 more with that 4th base defense. He's only got so many here. Still kind of mining onto the 3rd and natural base, but not really well, as opposed to MaSa, who has his 4th base up and running. Going and transporting over his main base, going to have much better mining there too. 45 SCVs, not a problem. He's got 3 orbitals. I actually should check with the graphs. So MaSa has been up in that economy. Makes a lot of sense. Should be going up even more, even as NaNiwa does transfer his probes over here. Actually, I looked and I didn't realize the Adepts would be able to sit back there, but of course they can. Even if this had the upgrade, I don't think they'd be able to die here. Transfer into the 3rd base, and suddenly the ZV count's looking worse and worse. I mean, 45 was a pretty good count in my opinion, but you go below 30, and even with mules, you're always risking not having a bank. And there's been a lot of situations where Terran players thinking, oh god, I'm winning, like I'm doing great, Liberator is so freaking OP, like they're getting me great engagements. And then when they go to remax, they're spamming that A button, they're like, oh, nothing's actually building. Certainly experienced that myself as a Terran player. And hopefully MaSa will pay attention, because I think the biggest thing is that they might get a command center down like this, and they might mule hammer, but only as they take an engagement, you know? So they'll only be getting their bank at when they they need to be making the units right then, right there. I'm kind of making it sound like NaNiwa's only hope is to catch MaSa making a mistake, an economical mistake, and I think that is the only way, is he, like, basically gets blanketed by storms and NaNiwa immediately counterattacks. But he's got ghosts now, so those blanketed storms shouldn't really be happening. They kind of are, though. I mean, those ghosts were there. They're just doing an absolutely terrible job. But MaSa still is able to snipe that 4th base, and once again, NaNiwa needed that 4th base. And these damn Marauders, man. Like, I don't know about you guys, but especially if you're cheering for NaNiwa, you just wish there was 1 or 2 more storms, and every single unit, man, I guess not the medevacs, but like every single Marauder would be dead. And NaNiwa would just be like basking in the glory of Storm, but without that last Storm, he's gonna lose the game. He's got no 4th base, he's long distance mining. I think he's kind of at an impasse right now with 700 minerals as to, well, do I make more units or do I try and plant down that 4th base again? It's do or die time, and the Templars are kind of getting some free units, but Vikings are on the way. Upgrades are finishing up too. Weren't quite ready for that last battle, but they've been ahead for the majority of this game. Yeah. Those of you who are just coming in now, as we're getting more viewers after the beginning of the broadcast, Rifkin's power is out, so that means no bot. He does it on his laptop, and that means that I'm solo casting, as everyone else that we're comfortable with casting has other things to do right now. So hopefully you guys will still enjoy the game, even if it means if you're muting. Some people just don't like solo cast, and I get that. Some people don't like me, and I don't get that because I'm awesome. F you guys, but still got good games to watch, and hopefully my observing isn't too bad. Tempest still trying to get that free damage that they really need, but the Viking count's just getting higher and higher. He almost took that engagement where he wouldn't be able to remax quickly enough, but once again, not enough storms, so not a worry for MaSa, who's been calmly mining. And once again, we're going to have MaSa taking the game and just looking really solid. That's the thing about this kid, right? Like, MaSa is a very odd, like, you know that he'll always beat out, like, Scarlet, right? Like, every, like, North American Cup, everyone else is afraid of him, because he seems to always win them. But he never wins, like, these really high-profile things, I suppose. And not with a lot of flash, either, which isn't a bad thing. It's just you always forget that he's, like, a super, super good player. Where NaNiwa, he was so flashy with the Blink Stalkers in his last group stage, and almost was in this game, too, I suppose, and then overcommitted a little bit. That's, I definitely gave it a little bit more to NaNiwa. Definitely not a 3-0, but MaSa's playing so well. Maybe he will get that last game here. It's going to be on Detox. That was not vetoed out. It was initially, and then NaNiwa decided to go for Ulrina as a veto instead. Really didn't appreciate that map, I guess. He very specifically asked me if it was going to be in the map pool. And, well, that's kind of actually an odd choice. When you have one build that isn't unstoppable, but is definitely hard to deal with, that Tempest Rush on that map. Not quite as abusable as maybe the drops, but similar vein. I'm surprised he was so eager to veto it. Okay, game number 3, already on the way. These guys were eager, ready to go. Detox will actually do a pan over it in case you guys are new to the map, which some of you might be. These are on all BaseTradeTV tournaments that are actually set up and run by us. So not the Elima League, not like the IEM broadcast that we do, but like the Corsair Cups, Cheers for Gaming, obviously TING. It's a fun map, and Central Protocol at one point was not a fun map, so that's why we replaced it. But real quick, like, nope, wrong one. There we go. In the bottom left, on it, Detox, he's up 2-0. It's Elevates MaSa. In the top right, as the red Protoss, he's NaNiwa. Alright, so, yeah, quick, just pan around the base here. There we go, double zoom out. So you can see, it's a big point that we try and talk about, is that there seems to be a lack of defender's advantage, which is very odd. Usually maps are set up, for instance, where this is opposite. You should have your high ground on your main if you're being attacked into your main, but you don't. There's no ramp on the natural, so you don't have that high ground to bank on, although you do still have a choke. This is a single ramp, which might look, you know, like, okay, this is defender's advantage, right? But then there's a second ramp that usually makes it so no matter what, the defender has the more awkward engagement. They've got, you know, they thought about this ramp, so they built a couple of gateways, but then they just lose the gateways, or they try to attack through the gateways, and just end up funneling through. It's a bit odd of a base map, you know, because otherwise you look at the overall mini map and it you know, it almost looks like Daybreak isn't actually the correct comparison, but you know, there's a little bit of windiness to it. There's a couple of rocks which no one ever really uses, but those are pretty cool. And in general, the rest of the bases are spread out in a way that you would anticipate, so it's a little bit more difficult to get to your 5th and 6th. But oh, okay. So there's barracks at home, but then there's a factory being proxied. Oh, okie dokie. Moss has been doing great with greedy builds, but he sees an opportunity on Detox. Talked about the bases, we didn't talk about the dead space. This seems to be a map that would actually favor maybe Zerg, who are aggressive. You know, they go for Lings, they go for 2-base Muta, there's a lot of dead space. But it also would favor Terran's Liberators, for instance, a little bit in the drops, Nidus Room 2, and maybe just units walking through the middle. I don't actually know what he's going to do with this. Proxy Widowmines are stupidly effective because they can take a hit or two while they burrow. But it's just going to be the Widowmine drop proxied, which is going to be very interesting. You can actually just drop him here and walk in. NaNiwa would have no idea. NaNiwa does have no idea. His probe went to go scout and then anticipated being blocked out, I suppose, because it's not blocked right there, but anticipated something being behind and didn't actually get to see the command center. So, very sneaky, something that Terrans very quickly identify on this map as a possibility. Is getting away with, you know, not showing your hand, basically. The Stargate is a great option. It's a catch-all for most one-base builds, especially, as NaNiwa might be anticipating one. He certainly seems to be on the first map, Dusk Towers, today, but then didn't actually receive one. The reason being is that Phoenixes can, you know, if they're there, that is, because this can be sometimes the worst thing, is if your Phoenixes are around or your Oracles on the other side of the map, then they're not at home lifting the Widowmine, detecting the Widowmine, and it's actually kind of the worst thing to have. But if everything's at home, if you're able to scout this, get any, like, hint of it, the Phoenixes take on the medevac, which is the most important thing, although, yeah, it's followed by Liberator. They take out the Liberator, too, which usually follows up a 1-1-1, but especially a proxied one, and it can rip the Widowmine out without it ever having the option of dealing damage. But NaNiwa was not sure this was happening. He wasn't really quick to you know, boost out a Phoenix, and the Oracle did go across the field. But the good news is NaNiwa was able to react against this and only loses 2 probes, puts his guys back on mining, and will be able to clean up the Widowmines. One Phoenix probably won't be able to chase this medevac, especially with Marines coming forward. It looks a little odd right there. And the Liberator, Liberator died. Yeah, okay. Or was cancelled? Or was building. I'm actually... Yeah, okay, it was building. I'm crazy. This will happen. This will get even worse as the day goes on, mind you. But right, so the Liberator is also going to sidetrack that Phoenix from killing the medevac. So the third base was a bold move. You know, it was along the same idea as that Warp Prism. Do a little damage, hopefully see that your opponent's also being pretty greedy, get a really quick third base. But MaSa was not being greedy at all. And NaNiwa is not set up very well to deal with someone who's not being greedy. He has so few units. They're key units, but they're still very lightweights. Mothership Core actually does really well against this Liberator. That's a nice pick-off for NaNiwa. And then the Widowmine going off on nothing was also really nice, or not much, rather. And he does clean up the medevac. I don't actually know why he bothered lifting. Should have just tried to take a Phoenix down with him or something, but both was going to be a tough decision for MaSa. Does lift this one, but unfortunately Revelate, with the way that it works now, it's not just stuck on the Oracle and you know, wave it around. He's actually going to miss the second Widowmine and only be on one base mining. MaSa, meanwhile, is finishing up his command center. Only down 12 SCVs, actually not that bad. It's not the best. If you proxy something, you would want to be hopefully up like 10-15 workers, doing a lot of damage, winning the game, but it's something that MaSa can recover from. It was honestly very scary, and then he walked into a pylon. So that was a little bit on MaSa, but Also nicely done by NaNiwa. The second Liberator was questionable after seeing those Phoenixes, to be honest, so that does go down pretty quickly. Second Widowmine drop's not even going to attempt to happen yet. It probably will swing around and hope to catch NaNiwa on a feeling of safety. The third base does go down again too, as he realizes everything's going to be cleaned up. He sees the proxies. Won't catch the starport on its way back. That would have definitely been worth chasing down with a Phoenix. And on the flip side, it would have been worth MaSa trying to save, because that would take a while to rebuild. But NaNiwa is still patrolling, looking for more Widow Mines, Medivacs, even more Liberators maybe. This Widow Mine's still not taken care of. Getting transferring probes. The other one was prioritized so that he could get to mining again. Nicely done here. And does have Revelate, so it cleans up all the Widow Mines. This one's gonna get something again. I don't know if NaNiwa remembered about it. Oh, Starport's making its journey back home. It's such an interesting life while it was away. I don't understand this factory still being alive, but I guess there's nothing to actually kill it. there's actually no ground army, so... Oh no! Oh, he forgot about it. I thought it was going to be a single transferring probe, but it was a probe line. Whoopsie-daisy. And then another one of mine. The one that was from the Proxy factory actually almost kills a Phoenix. Wow, okay. Well, now the Phoenix can kill the factory! Phoenix, please! Phoenix. Phoenix, please. You know what's so stupid? Like, it's not that close to this point yet, as they're both still, or MaSa's only on 2 base. But it would be so dumb if MaSa's able to get a second starport for Liberators, because NaNiwa never took out this factory. That'd actually be a little bit silly. But it might happen. Or the game might end before then. Did that seriously get another hit? Oh my good god. I mean, he is entirely depending on, like, this Oracle and Phoenix combo. The observers have never been in the correct location. They just got pumped out recently, so... That's surprising. How much damage has he done in total? 16 in total, and that's over the, like, course of 5 minutes. That was never all at once. That's pretty funny. Terran army's actually, not very funny for NaNiwa. He's 10 army supply up. Looking kind of scary here. Mothership Core, there she is. She's gonna pop the pylon off to the left, unfortunately, but there's no Medivacs healing this, so this only has a limited amount of time before it's just gonna be overstimmed, so MaSa has to be very, very careful. There's the Medivac! More reinforcements coming across the map. Detox, this is a surprisingly long map. There is some twists and turns, as the ZVZs have taught us on this map. The Nexus does go down, and that's what NaNiwa was specifically trying to avoid. He was hoping that MaSa was going to stim himself to death, and that he'll be able to take a fight without losing too many units and without losing his Nexus. But unfortunately, even though he takes the fight at the end, MaSa did even that up by killing the Nexus. He has his own third on the way, his armor supply still isn't bad, and the tech actually is even a little bit ahead with these upgrades, and of course his Medivac's already being out, because that starport didn't die. The factory's not that either! Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to keep remembering this is over here. Has it built another one of mine? Please don't tell me it has. Bring the Phoenix back. Why? Why? Well, this game is still pretty even. MaSa has just been playing so well in the late game that I am kind of feeling it for MaSa, but we'll see what NaNiwa has. You know, it is going for a much different composition with all these Phoenixes. See if that makes anything work differently, like... Maybe they take down the Liberator count early, or they deal with the Medivacs a lot quicker, and MaSa doesn't anticipate that. Maybe. Scan goes down. MaSa should know that he has an upgrade lead. Just click on the units. That's actually a lot of units. I'm surprised they stimmed in so confidently as he did, but is forced to retreat. Picks up 4 Medivacs going to the main, where he knows there isn't anything to stop it because he has a factory. Oh my god. This factory, man. Actually, the Phoenixes just show themselves. Oh, MaSa, you should have seen that! The factory! It's your scout! It's your pro! Okay, he does. I was about to say that. It's just a stupid factory. Oh my god. The thing is, you know, everyone's probably doing not like this right now, is that he has so much to deal with, and he's been relying on air units that can't attack grounds, that he just really doesn't want to partition units away to take care of this factory, because that's when MaSa stims in and wins. So he's probably thinking, as long as the Widow Mines ever get into my mineral line, I can deal with a factory being in my base. It just looks so silly. Like, ugh. Ghost Academy on the way, a couple probes went down, I guess, on the back end or something. Because he builds cannons, so he makes sure he doesn't deal with the widow mines. Oh, Jesus. Storm is on the way. Upgrades, 2-2. Oh, hey, that's... Command Center's not there anymore. Command Center's being lifted over. Look at me split. Going to, looks to be this base. Yeah, this is interesting. Detox is only played on our tournament, so we don't get to see it that often, but Snoots did this yesterday. And I thought it made a lot of sense, especially for a Zerg player to kind of expand like that, and then you have this area to contest around. But, you know, there's a gold base right here. It looks so tempting. There's this base that's a little bit closer, though not a gold. Looks so tempting, but this base, I guess, is kind of hidden in a way, and, well, it might be easier to defend, but this drop actually did go through. The Phoenixes were not in position. The medevacs are fairly low, but the army, there's the stim, a little bit damaged now, but really wasn't that much going into this. And oh no, the Adepts, what are they doing? They're not even attacking! He's focusing on the other fight, which was not as big, and loses a lot of Adepts just on move command, and they're still derping out! Oh my god, Adepts. Useless. Useless. I mean, luckily, he still takes in okay engagements. He's not super down in army, but that's not... He could have taken a better one, you know, and that's just always, oh, frustrating. The, Widow Mines finally cleaned up too, I suppose, although he's still building them. I love that he has that hotkey and is building Widow Mines. That's just... the Marines get into the, third base, just 5 of them, but stimmed on the medevac. Gets 9 probe kills, and NaNiwa... Well, he deals with it finally. Not quite torn apart, but just a little bit of a mistake here and there is giving MaSa leads. You know, he has a 4th base down. He's on a higher worker count. NaNiwa is going for the gold, and thank God he is. I think it's actually a good choice, as you're not really going to expect Terran of all races to be stimming in from behind like this. It's of course more of a Zerg thing to have Lings thug through there, and I think that the contestation of the bases will be around this point for NaNiwa in general. Oh, Moss is getting his own gold. Just as a 5th. Oh boy. Starport is on the way. That starport was built right before his factory died, I think. Just checking to make sure. The point is he's getting it. He's got personal cloaking on the way too for his ghosts. NaNiwa went for Tempests fairly, I should say fairly quickly. I'm just surprised he's able to go for them at this time, because there has been a lot of action in this game, but he's able to get a lot of key elements in his composition. You got Storm, an Archon or 2, the Adepts, well, at least they got Resonating Glaives, but the Tempest also being out so quickly feels a lot nicer, but NaNiwa still has to deal with this Terran army, which is always going to be difficult. And now the Terran army has this little bridge. Oh, if only had another storm! If only it survived. That's what the Adepts really need to get that last hit. You know, I wonder how much of that last game was because he went for Adepts, not Charge Lots. If he went for Charge Lots, the last Marauders actually don't have that high of damage, but oh, think about that later. Mass EMP's going down. The Adepts all get hits, but there are a couple of High Templars in the back, and it's the sign of a really good Protoss player who has those back. Middle of an army fight, it looks like. One that did go in favor of MaSa. There weren't that many storms, which is what the real kicker was, and then the rest of the Adepts just went down pretty quickly to Stim's bio. But the Tempests are out and in number 2. The Vikings got destroyed. He had like 2 with that army. So the Tempests are slowly trying to be the comeback kings, but he's still going to lose a 4th base. That is still the most important thing about this game. Now, NaNiwa, interestingly enough, definitely should not tap out, because the mass Tempests might be able to do something here. I don't know if they really can. Like, I don't think they're going to bring back this game and he's going to win it. But I would certainly like to see him try. Getting a couple more High Templars, building that Tempest counts. Getting a mass air army, actually, might be this last desperate attempt with Storm underneath of getting, like, a perfect army. Because now MaSa no longer has that one-up of a Liberator, as most Terrans seem to do. Now he's already severely outnumbered in the air, so getting Liberators will not be NaNiwa's worry in this game. Hopefully that's that was just a hiccup in actually being cast right now. Drop goes in here, just 4 Marauders, so they're not going to be able to kill probes that quickly. It would certainly take down buildings. He's going to scout that Tempest production is still on its way. and should be committing even more heavily to weapons, for instance, but also just more and more Vikings. 4th base replanted, but that army... The downside of the Tempest, besides potentially being countered by the Vikings eventually and MaSa's greater economy, is also that they won't deal damage very quickly, so that's where the Storm really has to come in, and there's a lot of Storms. Oh, damn. So I was going to say MaSa could just snipe things and run away, but now there's so many High Templars. Oh boy. The High Templars are trying to get all of their Storms down. All of the Ghosts are dead or depleted in energy, so they could go forward here, but it's not going to be enough damage. Oh my goodness. Medivacs are good, man. Marauders are good. The Nexus goes down yet again. NaNiwa, he needs it. He needs it so desperately. If he could afford, like, a hidden 5th, you know, because, you know, MaSa knows he's on the ropes. If he could just afford a 5th, that would be secret. That would be so good. But MaSa's even scouting for that. You actually might be thinking, damn, Tempests are expensive. How are you building so many? But all the Medivacs die? The last 2 are getting transported out. MaSa is paying attention to his Medivac count. Getting a couple with his rounds of Vikings. That's good to note. Tempests are very good on this map. Kind of forgot to mention that because NaNiwa was just on the defensive the entire time, but if he goes on the offense, there are a ton of positions to abuse, like right here. Of course, there's a lot of dead space everywhere, so Tempests are actually a very good choice here. But can they actually win the game? I don't think so. But Storms might be able to help. Storming some of his own probes, unfortunately, and losing some of the High Templars, too. But eventually should be able to clean this up. The Adepts come in here. More High Templars. Yeah, it just blipped. And the Tempests are actually taking care of this gold base. Sim into the 3rd, which is still mining. His only mining base, in fact, because the main is mined out mostly, and his natural is definitely mined out. That last Storm, that last feedback takes care of the rest of the units, and can the Tempest do it? I'm actually feeling a lot better for the Tempest now, you know? Like, those Storms weren't quite cutting it on the defense, but on the offense, MaSa a little taken off guard, probably. His command center does go down, but here comes the Viking fleet. Oh my god, why did he wait so long to show these? I guess he was waiting for that exact perfect counts. I thought maybe he was too low on them, but it looked like it's going to be enough. This is where the High Templars are really necessary. If the High Templars were here, the Tempests would probably win the fights. But they were lagging behind. They're still lagging behind. He's already lost all of his Tempests. He took down a good chunk of that ground army with all the drops that went down, but there's still more to come. MaSa had another base here as a planetary. That's it. MaSa 3-0s NaNiwa. Nicely done by MaSa, man. This guy just... When he's good, you know? And then sometimes he'll falter against one thing and kind of be like, that's his weakness of the day, but when he's solid against a player, I guess it just, it ends up in a 3-0. NaNiwa will go on to the losers match, who will face either Gumiho or Bly. I wonder which matchup he'll be preferring, facing the Korean or facing the Zerg. I don't know which one he's in favor for right now. But we're going to get the next series set up, which is going to be Gumiho versus Bly. It should be very exciting. It's going to be default NA server, central, because Gumiho's in Korea and Bly is on Europe. If they want to, they can both agree to coin flip, but I don't think that's going to happen. And while we get that all set up, we're also going to be going into a break. So it's going to be about, I don't know, 5 minutes. So go get your water, take a bathroom break or whatever, and come back to watch a pretty epic TVZ, I think. Stay tuned.